Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for one of the biggest previews of the season. Soudal Quick Step, that's what they're still called in 2024. I believe no merger happened. We're going to be talking what's the future of this team, as well as what is the proposed schedule of Remco and other main riders in 2024, with, of course, the review of their 2023 season and transfers. A lot of things mooted to happen that didn't eventually happen with this team in the off season, but this week we had further news about a new COO coming in who is the heir and waiting to Lefebvre, but more on him in a second. Benji, how you been going?
Pretty good, actually. Pretty good. It's going to be a busy week, a lot of stuff to record, but I'm actually very much enjoying these previews. It's like a clean sheet at the start of the season, right?
Yeah.
Where we get to munch on the new transfers, we get to munch on the new teams, and then see them in action next year. And we might say some horrible takes or some great takes, but that's the fun of it.
Always right. Yeah. I think my Broe preview in 2021 Christmas was that was where I popped off the Hindley take, I think.
Yeah.
That one didn't do too well. Some of them have been okay, but yeah, we've got people keeping track of the of the World Tour wins over unders. We also forgot to include GC counts as well, so I think it's over 170 World Tour races are up for the winning in 2024, which is a lot of races, many of which have been won by Soudal Quickstep. So 2023, Benji, how do we feel about their season? 56
Honestly,
total wins. 23 World Tour wins.
That's a lot, 23 World Tour wins out of 56 wins. And it's also, one could say that, when you think about Quickstep, you always think about Remco Evenepoel, but there's so much other breadwinners, is how I'd call it, in the team. Like Merlier, he didn't step up in a Grand Tour because he didn't have a Grand Tour to ride in this season, but he did step up outside of that, and the likes of UAE Tour and so forth. Won 2 stages there, then racked up some stage wins in Polonia, which I don't rate that highly, but it's still a World Tour win, I guess. Remco Evenepoel, obviously, won LBL, won San Sebastian, but next to that, started the Giro as GC leader, won 2 stages, then had the whole COVID affair happening, then went to the Vuelta at the end of the year, won 3 Vuelta stages. He was showing already a bit of cracks, though, before the moment where it all fell apart on the Obisque. Was that the climb?
Yeah, it was the Obisque, first climb of stage 13.
So he then reinvigorated himself as the KOM man of the race. 3 stage wins plus KOM in that race. It's not what he started for, but at least it's something that he got out of it. Won the UAE Tour as well. Second at Catalonia plus a stage. Like, he also got a lot of the victories and a lot of the results of the team, obviously, but that's also what they've got him for. Jakobsen, arguably disappointing season, 1 World Tour win. Tirreno crashed out of the Tour de France. I personally didn't see him competitive in that race, but maybe if that didn't happen,
Luke's
he
gonna
might
mute
have.
that section.
2 stage wins at Romandy with Vernon and Czerny. I didn't remember that.
Asgren won a Tour stage.
You're right. I actually forgot to put that on
2.
the notes even.
Yeah.
I agree. And yeah, it's just a lot of victories is how I'd say it. But outside of that, like, I value Trevale Varesine maybe over a Romandy stage win with Van Welder.
I mean, when you look at the style list, it's Pog and Roglic, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really get much better than that in a Hilly Italian Classic. Whereas, Romandy reduced sprint. I mean, you got to be in it to win it. I guess I have the feeling that this team gets a hard time, or maybe not enough credit, Benji. I think Soudal Quickstep, when you look at all these wins, when you look at wins in all 3 Grand Tours, wins in a monument, as well as, the second or third most overall wins, over 20 World Tour wins, and from loads of different riders, 3rd on the points ranking, ahead of Ineos and Trek, who have a bigger budget than them. And maybe, listen, AG2R, I'd like to see their budget matched up against Quickstep too. yes, they're not close to UAE or Jumbo, but they're leading the other teams in third. And I think, yeah, a lot of because Remco didn't win a Grand Tour and because they really weren't good in the Cobble Classics, there is a discussion of what happened to the Quick Step. They've tried to change too much to be a GC team now, but I looked at some of their previous years. They had years in the 2015s nowhere near as good as this, with 8-9 World Tour wins.
I agree, but I do feel like there's this overall feeling, maybe it's more a Flemish-centered feeling, where the Cobble Classics are just very important for a team like Quickstep. But with the way that, like, it's kind of that could it be that their history in those Cobble Classics is haunting them a bit? As in, they were so successful with Tom Bonen, with Stijn de Volder in years, with Asgreen, with Chavanel at certain periods. Like, they were so successful for a serious amount of time, to the point that Lotto Destiny now had a better Cobble season this year, and that's still of very high importance in Belgian media, who will be the first judging person, or the first judging, what do you call it, area, because like Belgian media is going to judge them on their Cobble Classics.
Yeah. Oh, but Belgian media's, they're a special breed.
Am I technically Belgian media?
Nah, because you mostly communicate in English in media. So
thank you.
You're and you don't even live there anymore. They exiled you. That's why you're in the UK. You got kicked out. The joke became reality. So yeah, third on the overall ranking, all those wins. It is if you do a budget to results ratio, they might be first overall. This Soudal Quickstep in the whole of World Tour peloton, but there is a sense that, well, they won a Grand Tour with Remco in 22 and they didn't this year. The Vuelta was the big next step to compete against the Jumbo sort of monster squad, and it didn't happen. The Giro is just unfortunate. I have that as a write-off, but yeah, is that the team? And then there's I think all the stuff behind the scenes has soured what I've just said. Is it was a really good season. We went into the off season then, where is the team merging? Bacala obviously isn't happy with what's happened, or I don't know. There's talks, and we probably will never know what exactly was close to happening or would happen, but clearly Bacala wasn't happy. And the last report, Benji, was what? That Bacala said, okay, I stay with Quickstep, everyone stays put, there's no merger, but you have a 2-year lifeline with me as the principal guarantor of the team.
That's the report I read, and when I read that, I felt like, ooh, Remco won't enjoy that news, because he's looking to have a built team around him that gets better in support of him, while he can get better in the hopes that he can win the Tour de France at some point in his career. Which, if that is happening, if he's simmering down the team's finances over 2 years, is how I read that report, then it's not exactly great news for that roadmap. And what did give me somewhat positive news in my eyes is the recent discussions about the new heir of Lefebvre, his apprentice. Like, do you know that British program, The Apprentice, with that one dude? Imagine if Lefebvre had like a show like that with like 10 people that he had to like apprentice into becoming the new CEO of Quickstep. I would have watched the fuck out of that show.
Yeah, and this is the guy. It's you'll have to correct my pronunciation, Benji. Jürgen Fore. He is a partner at Deloitte, or was a partner at Deloitte for a number of years. He's, I think, in his maybe mid-40s, early 50s. His father, I think, won Paris-Roubaix, so he comes from a cycling family, or won classic. So from a cycling family, but not a pro himself. And had a professional career. It looks like someone with the right, you know what the word for civilian palmares is, the right resume or CV for, I'm going to start calling them civilian palmares. That's CV washed in civilian palmares. He looks like the right man for I don't know the guy, but...
Mate, Flandrien verified.
Is he? Okay.
Like his dad, you said Roubaix, but also RVV and Wevelgem. 2 times the Tour of Belgium, 3 stage of Paris-Nice. Apparently there was some race called
his dad having
Brussels-Molenbeek.
good watts in the 70s doesn't mean this guy can move money around.
Maybe he has the brains and his dad had the watts.
Yeah, maybe. And listen, this is a job for Broe. If he is indeed, it looks pretty clear that he is to be the guy taking over from Lefebvre, who wants to step back in a couple of years.
I think I read a report on HLN, had lots of news in Belgium, which, doesn't always get it right. But I read a report by them that Lefebvre had said that they would appoint someone as their new COO because they had found his new heir, and then Fauré got announced as his new heir, so as his new COO. So I'm guessing that's the guy that will eventually become the CEO in the team. But yeah, we know HLN doesn't always get it right. Did you see that article yesterday that Jonas Vingegaard was spotted in a restaurant in Antwerp, and it was like a lookalike? It was in 2 newspapers, including HLN. I was like, mate,
dude,
that's not him.
No joke. When you sent it to me, I just woken up. Well, because you sent it, I'm in Australia, obviously, that's why I look bright red. And I've been waking up at 4 a.m. You sent it to me, and I looked at it, and I thought, fuck, it's going to be tough to win the Tour next year if he's looking like that.
Jesus Christ.
But then I put my glasses on, and I was like, oh, thank God. But was the guy holding a Jumbo jersey? Like, was he playing into it?
He was holding, I think, an All Blacks rugby thingy because he went to a rugby game. But like, there is some connection with Jumbo and the All Blacks rugby thing. But
I mean, like,
mate, if I look like that guy, I'm playing into the Jonas Vingegaard lookalike meme.
Do you reckon you got a free meal out of it?
I reckon that Jumbo should hire him to do the press conferences and all the press moments for Jonas Vingegaard at marginal gains.
Danish. Yeah, Rasmus said, Rasmus Franklin, I think his name is, or Extra Bladet. They come up to him and give an interview. He's like, I don't speak Danish.
He starts sounding Flemish.
Yeah. Oh, it's all the same.
Oh, Jesus. Get out of here.
Anyway, that was funny. But yeah, I think this is and as well, I think this guy and Lefebvre have kind of got a, maybe not 2 years, but an 18 months prove it to Bacala to maybe try to get him back on board and extend the runway of his support for the team. Or indeed, Fauré's job is to get commercial sponsors to fill in what Bacala was paying himself. And so, but the problem is, as things stand, if that doesn't happen, Jai Hindley, Ben O'Connor, these sort of riders hitting the market in 2025, why would they sign with a team that has its principal guarantor saying they're going to step away a year into their contract? That's
but
way too risky.
I often feel like I ask that question a lot. Like, DSM didn't have a secured future in the middle of their World Tour 3-year license at some point in the last few years. And people were still signing for that team. So I feel like maybe there are things we don't know when it comes to the finances of Quickstep, or that we didn't know when it comes to DSM, that some things already secured, or that some things being looked into that is hopeful. But I agree. I would find it sketchy and dangerous if I was a rider, and if this was an option to go to them, then I'd seriously consider my options.
Yeah, it makes things trickier for them in the transfer market, which for 2025 is already heating up now for the big boys. So, yeah, that's just something to bear in mind as well. But it moves on. I don't know what the atmosphere is like after the merger. Certainly, it was a long period of time there where staff and riders were in the dark and not knowing what was going to happen. A very stressful start to their off-season. So, it's going to be take a lot of work, I think, to take that sentiment, turn it around, reset 2024 season. Let's get motivated. They're professionals, obviously, but that's a difficult start to the off season. And what's more, we also saw, we'll get into it in a bit, murmurings from other riders on the team, like Merlier saying, "Hey, I want to go to a Grand Tour, not just any. I want to go to the Tour de France. Why can't I?" Alaphilippe saying, "I'm, contract year. I need to perform." So, as well, other riders are murmuring too, but we want to get into their transfers now, Benji.
Yes, we're going to go into their transfers, and let's talk about the, when it comes to the outgoing people, Fabio Jakobsen is one that is leaving. That's the pretty big name that's leaving, but also a name where I didn't feel like the amount of victories that he had in the season were notably exceptional. As in, that Tirreno victory was there, but outside of that, he was kind of doing the Groenewegen thing, right? As in the trying to clean up sprints in Hungary and so forth to try and get more victories. And that's not enough probably for the salary that he's on, in my opinion. And when I then look at the option of him leaving and Merlier stepping up in the team, then I don't mind that, because I feel like Merlier could have done a lot better in 2023.
Yeah, definitely if he went to the Vuelta, which he was supposed to do. I will say that Fabio probably outperformed his contract at Quick-Step because it was signed after his crash, but certainly you're probably referring to the contract DSM are paying, whether it was a good idea for Quick-Step to match. It wouldn't have been a good idea. They barely have enough spots to take Merlier to Grand Tours, let alone now having 2 premium sprinters and Remco and Alaphilippe. It didn't look like there was space for Jakobsen, so he's out the door. And you're right, it is still, it's 5 or 6 victories out the door, 1 or 2 at World Tour level. I think Fabio, I'd expect him to win sprints next year. Vernon as well, 3 or 4 or 5 victories out the door, a couple at World Tour level. De Klerk, one of the stalwarts of the team, out the door. Schmid, Baggioli, they also won this year. Van Tricht, developing Belgian rider. He's the one that it makes very little sense to me that why Van Tricht is allowed to go. I can understand a lot of these. Seneschal to Arkea. Yeah. He seems to be past it. Jakobsen, there's no space. Davenijn's retiring. Mercu wants to go with Cav to Astana because he's older. Cavagnar's being probably overpaid at Movistar. Ballerini stopped performing. De Klerk got an offer he couldn't refuse at Little Trek, and also I think Quick-Step were in a position to offer him a contract. Steimler as well. It doesn't move the needle for me. Vernon, I heard, is on, probably got a big offer at Israel. But the ones, Benji, Baggioli, Schmidt, Van Tricht, aren't they the young 23, 24-year-olds who are not earning a bomb yet, who have still got some upside, who you want to keep?
I agree. As in, Mauro Schmid was definitely the rider where I was looking at, okay, the first half of the season, I would note especially, where I was like, okay, this is very hopeful, and especially the last spot of 2022, with his Worlds was great, but also next to that, was it Montreal, if I recall correctly, that it was of the two, where he had a really good result, and that suggests that if he sent this guy to a Cobble Classic or something, he can be that rider can be in a group ahead and try and benefit in a way that Matteo Jorgensen did in RVV this year, for example. Like, they're not exactly the same riders, but he could play that role that Jorgensen played in that race, for example. And I see so many options. There's also, he's half Cobble and half Hill Classics, and I think they should have shared it. I've done my loads of complaining about the fact that he wasn't sent to both the Cobble Classics and Hill Classics, and instead to Basque Country, where he was really good, but Basque Country just isn't as important as the Cobble Classics for this team, and they're going to be judged on Cobble Classics and not on Basque Country, and that's also why I'm so fanatic about this entire thing. Baggioli, I feel like, I agree that he's that young rider, but I also feel like he kind of stagnated in the last 3 years. But maybe
he's their
this
second
year
highest point scorer.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry? Baggioli's their second highest scorer? What?
Hey, dude, look at his last 10 days in Italy.
Yeah, I agree.
Look at his
with
last
that.
10 days. Farming Central. Now, listen, second in Lombardy is not farming. But also Fausto Masnada came on this very team. An Italian came second in Lombardia, and then we haven't seen him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Baggioli. We see his Italian classics or Canadian classics. We think, here we go. Liège next year, he's going to be up there for the podium. And we didn't see it this year. So I agree with your point, but I just looked up. I was shocked. Second in their point scoring.
Yeah, Lombardia is what did it. It's 640 points for getting second at Lombardia. that launches you up there. And like, I don't see that as very repetitive on a yearly basis for Baggioli, especially if you see the consistency throughout the season. He probably had a better season than the year before, though. I do have to say that. But it's not like he launched past what I hoped he would like 3 years ago or something. When it comes to Van Tricht, yeah, he had a good season. He's probably not that expensive yet. Like getting close to Dwars door het Hageland, if I recall correctly. Like I see this as the kind of rider that could enter their cobble team in certain races, maybe compete in Dwars door Vlaanderen and so forth, in addition to some cobble races to be a part of that team. But maybe it's his decision that he just wanted to go to Alpecin. Maybe he thought, okay. But then again, if you're Van Tricht, like, if you go to Alpecin, you're not going to have that freedom in most of your races. You're likely going to be in a support team for...
Oh, they do a pretty broad Belgian semi-classics calendar. I'm sure he'll get his chance there. Of course, in RVV, if he makes that team, it's it's for the big boss. But
yeah,
I can see it. I think there was a period of the year during this year where they didn't know what was happening, as in management, and riders had to make hard decisions whether to wait or whether to take to go to another team. And I sort of agree with like Baggioli. That's a tough one. Schmidt, I liked. Baggioli, though, you got to say, signed for another team, already done, and he was still professional enough to be performing at that level at the end of the season. That
Agreed.
is, so I don't know. It's still, that's a lot of points out the door. But yeah, it's, a lot of them I think are great. Like Cavagna, Cavagna is a little bit overrated. I wouldn't have matched what Movistar offered.
I agree, but about Baggioli, it's also, the transfer would probably have been done already in August, September, maybe early October at the latest. So the last 10 days of his 2023 season wouldn't have mattered at all for that decision. So maybe after those Italian classics, they might have thought, oh, we're missing out here, but it's too late then, eh?
Yeah, for sure. That by then it's too late. And maybe then little Trek have got a bit of a deal on their hands because they didn't have to pay for that performance because it was done in advance of that. But still, a lot of experience, a lot of famous riders out the door. I agree with most of them. A couple of the young guys, particularly Schmidt, I think we both agree Schmidt is one I would have tried to keep,
by the way,
if possible.
How problematic do we see what happened there with the Vegas thingy and the inner team workings? Is that, who's at fault there?
Both. I think.
So to be clear, what happened?
Lefebvre shouldn't have mentioned. Lefebvre wrote in his article that Schmidt basically during the season, sort of pre-Canadian Classics time, went to Vegas on like an I don't know if he said unsanctioned holiday, but went on Vegas on holiday. He didn't take his bike, and then said he lost his bike computer and didn't train or something, and that he's after because he was already signed to Jayco, and then Schmidt put up one ride on Twitter. It's like, so Lefebvre shouldn't have. You should keep that in house. Yeah, but also, I don't know, Vegas during the year.
I don't necessarily mind someone going on a holiday during the season. I don't know if it was sanctioned or not, which is probably very important, as the team should probably know. But on the other end, I'm also feeling like Lefebvre made it sound like it was a week long. I think it was 6 or 5 days that he mentioned. It was like 3 days in the end. So if in 3 days you go on the bike once, it wasn't the longest ride, but it's also not the end of the world either in my head.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been blown up. That's the conclusion.
Just leave it alone. A lot of that stuff. I mean, I love reading it. The drama was funny, but we'll see. Maybe sometimes these things from the team, it's not just that incident. Maybe they've been working with the young rider for 3 years, and there's been a few different things that have cropped up, and I'm sure if he was 100% trusted by the team and was like the hardest worker, most professional ever, maybe not. It's Lefebvre after all. Maybe it doesn't. He doesn't write that. Transfers in though. We have. Can you do the Belgian fellows, Benji? I can't pronounce their names.
I'll do the Belgian fellows first, and then you can do the non-Belgian fellows. Eiko Bastiaans from Alpecin Dev Team, which this is the kind of rider where, I don't know, I kind of stack him as the potential rouleur type of rider for the team. I don't know him 100%, so don't take my word for it. But when I look at his results, I'm not saying, wow, this is the biggest talent they're racking in. He's already 27. But in the races that I did see him, he was that early Leclerc kind of rider sometimes. So maybe that's the kind of thing they're trying to do. Get a rider like that and hope that he can fill up a role like Leclerc did, is how I see that. But I can't add much more than that to him. Wout van Geluwe, pretty good talent. I recall him being, was it top 3 at Omloop U23? If my memory serves me right. But he's been good on those national level races in Belgium. I think Youngster Coast Challenge he won ahead of, let me check, Alex Siehart. And most importantly, I remember this name from, there's this race called Hulligem Koersen where he won ahead of Tim Merlier. So I think he had a lead and then Tim Merlier sprinted to second or something in that race. But that was a 1-2 for Quickstep there because of him. So I don't know, pretty solid talent. I think this is an okay signing. Gilles Gelders is also a pretty good talent as well in the team. I think he came from Bingo, then to the Def team. For some reason, when I hear his name, I always think about Sport Vlaanderen, but it really isn't a rider that rode there. He won a stage in Giro Next Gen, so that shows something. Gent Wevelgem won as well. He rode the Tour de Rwanda, so the man's been all over the world this year. But yeah, just a good Belgian talent as well to the team, one of the better ones as well from the youngsters. William Lesser, we've had quite a few conversations about this man already. William Junior Lesser, because he won U23 Lombardia. He's done good shit at L'Avenir, as in top 5 in L'Avenir, top 3 on some mountain stages. He also was top 5 in the time trial there, got 4th in Alsace, got 8th in Giro Next Gen. This is a good climber, a good climbing type, could potentially be domestique for Remco already this year in certain races. There was some drama with Lotto back in the day, right? Was that 2022 where Lotto wouldn't give him a bike and then Lefebvre stepped in to give him a bike for L'Avenir?
Oh,
or was that this year?
When he was leaving the team, I think. They wouldn't give him a bike. Yeah. I can't remember. But yeah, he's good. He's good. I think the Wada guy actually has good results. Those national results, I don't know if they're scripted races or not, but the start list, like to beat Merlier, is not all of them. Okay, well, he looks pretty good. And yeah, Lesef, I think, is like, to me, the Stauner Mittet role.
Yeah.
Like maybe you send him with Remco to Algarve as a domestique to cut his teeth in that role, and then he goes to some other races to go for his own result, like Settimana. So I think he can have a nice program and should be paired with Remco.
I fully agree there. Maybe not in every race, but already in like the Algarves, like you mentioned, that for sure. And then the last Belgian on the list is Jordi Wadlop. He's the guy that got second in Muscat Classic for, I think it was behind Jente Biermans for Soudal Quickstep, which I don't know why I remember that actually.
What a race. It was one of the first one day races. He was supposed to go to B&B, or was on B&B, and then they collapsed, obviously. So he's 27. He's not as young as the other guys. He's sort of, I think, replacing Yannick Steimler for less money is how I see that. He's going to be put to work just being a rouleur, being second last, third last in lead-outs, in missed races.
Yeah.
They need these sort of guys, especially with Merlier and Luc Lamperti as well, who they brought in. So we're going to go to some Anglophones, well, the one Anglophone. Lamperti was probably the most hyped sprint prospect coming out of the U23s, pure sprinter from Trinity, American, won loads of races in America, won one stage at Giro Next Gen. Really good first half of the season. I was looking at him closely. And then L'Avenir, I'm not sure what happened, but L'Avenir and Tour of Britain were less good. But still, these are young men, so he won a lot. He won a lot this year, so very, very keen to see how he goes to replace Vernon.
Is it weird to call him the B-Tech Vernon at the moment? You just spoiled it by saying Vernon, but
no, I think... Well, yes, I think that is weird because I would expect Lamperti to be as good immediately. Or better.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll give that then. But now on to your favorite part of the incoming transfer, the French transfers. Come on. Give me your take on the French transfers.
I actually like these guys. I actually like... I was lobbying. I like Magnier. No, I can't say his name properly.
Magnier.
Merlier. I like Merlier, and I think these guys are good. Like, especially Antoine Ubi, very, very consistent throughout the year. Didn't win much, but always there just about. In Tour Alsace, and you know who won Tour Alsace? Seb Berwick, so you got to be good to be fifth there. Won Courte-Lepage Grand Prix Jasinski. Just a good, looks like a puncher who doesn't have the real top-end climbing, like Le Cerf maybe. I beat Le Cerf actually in on Planche de Belfi in Alsace, so I think he's nice. And yeah, I think Merlier is even better. He was also on Trinity, and he came third in the Europeans under 23s, and he had some other results. He had a very, very good second-year junior season, so he's younger. This was his first year U23, and he was already competitive at the end of the year in some races. Yeah. So I think he's very good.
Yep, I agree with your assessment. Then
and they're
let me
cheap.
go to the true, but I wonder if this guy is cheap after what happened in his past. Johnny Moscon from Astana.
I'd hope so.
As in, honestly, I think Johnny Moscon can do what De Klerk did.
Oh, I can do more than that if he's on.
Yeah, but that's the big if.
That's the big
he
if.
Been on in the last fucking decade.
They nearly won Paris-Roubaix at the end of 2021. 2 years
I agree.
ago.
Yeah, that's true. Feels like 10 years ago, though.
It does, but it was only 2 years and 2 months ago he nearly won Paris-Roubaix. So he's under 30 years old. Obviously, huge question marks regarding motivation, professionalism, but also he wasn't in the best environment. There's not a lot of riders thriving at Astana either at the moment. So Quick-Step are hoping they can do a Quick-Step resurrection. If there's a team to do it for a rider like this, especially with Bramati, you know, Bramati's there, who can push him, and who's obviously Italian. I think it's a really, really good signing for them. It makes a lot of sense, especially if they're pushed for money, and especially they need a versatile ruler. They need a guy who's helped Egan Bernal win the Giro d'Italia in 2021, that year.
Yep.
Also not that long ago. He was a very good domestique there, versatile domestique. So yeah, I think it's a really good signing.
I think so as well. It's kind of like, it depends on how you look at it. Because obviously he's got a history that a lot of people don't like. I don't like his history either, because he's done some horrible shit. But if we look just at the sporty side of things, then it is worth the gamble of trying to get him back to his old self. Because if you can do that, he's going to be extremely valuable to this team. If you can't do that, well, then you shot and you missed, but it probably won't be the most expensive transfer in the season, I would hope, for Quick-Step. Like, how much do you reckon Moscon is on in 2024?
Oh, man. Probably still more than he should be. I don't know. Because, you know, he might just pack it in and go farm apples if he just didn't want to, if you just offered him like 100, I don't know, honestly.
Farm apples, Jesus.
Well, it's only has an apple farm, no?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He's also called the tractor, Il Trattore. So the tractor leaves and he comes in. I think a lot of riders are called the tractor in their respective languages. But yeah, I'm interested to see. I think their hope is that he can be like Teish Benoit. No, not Teish Benoit.
Who can you compare him to?
Gianni Moscon when he was on Ineos and good. They're going to hope he can be Gianni Moscon on Ineos.
Exactly.
Is what they'll be hoping for. That's all the quote-unquote not cheap signings. Maybe Lamperti's on a little bit more than Merlier and co. But Mikel Landa's the big one. The big fish. Yes. The climbing domestique deluxe that Remco has been asking for, coming from Bahrain victorious. He wanted De Plus. They wanted De Plus and Sivakov. You know what, Benji? They got someone much better than both of them. He is. Mikel Landa is better than those riders as a pure climber.
Correct. I agree with that. He got fifth in the Vuelta. That's a big if. We've got this going on for every transfer at this point. Now, to be honest, I think he's gonna be motivated. I like to see the beauty in this world, and I hope that Landa steps up because he's a really good rider when he does. Like, was it 2 years
Came
ago?
third in the Giro last year.
Yeah, like this guy's pretty damn good. Like top 5 in the Vuelta as well. Like he got a top 5 in a Grand Tour on 2 years in a row now. Like this guy can be a good domestique, but he'd have to kind of transform in the same
Landa
way that
came 5th in the Vuelta.
Yes.
Holy fuck.
He's had a better Grand Tour GC season than Remco.
Yeah, dude. He was very... People talk about Landa like he's legit fat on the couch and then has like a couple of good races.
Like he's Carlos Betancourt.
Yeah, and you look at his PCS and he's like top 10 every single stage race he did, except Tour and Dauphiné, which is probably, the two most important parts of the season.
Second at Basque Country.
Yeah.
Second at Andalusia, but let's be honest about that. That was
I think he did a really shit preparation for the Tour.
Okay.
Like he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stage races, all of which were hard against good competition. Andalusia and Valenciana are not against scrubs, especially Andalusia. There's Poggy there.
Mm-hmm.
He did 6 stage races to tune up for the Tour. That's too much. That's way too much. And 85 race days in the end. And still, I think...
Question. Maybe this is a horrible question, but has Remco in 2023 proven himself enough that Landa needs to 100% be a domestique in the Grand Tour that he's in?
No.
It's hard,
but why would they even use Landa like Koos or Kruiswijk or Micah? Why would
bit of a different angle there, Koos and Kruiswijk.
Yeah, okay, no, forget it. Like Micah. Because people think he's coming in to be used like Micah, but what's the point? Why would you go to the Tour against Pogačar and Vingegaard and just put Landa on the first mountaintop finish, put Landa on the front and just make him pull till he blows up?
Yeah.
What's the point?
I think is it weird that I might even consider giving him a leadership in one Grand Tour outside of Remco?
Yeah, again to the the Giro's no good. We're gonna get onto this.
Yeah.
Actually, let's do it now. I think Remco should do the Giro Tour double, and I think Landa should do the Tour of Vuelta double. That makes the most sense to me. You have to forget history. Look at the best parcours possible for the riders, and Remco has to do the Tour, right? He has to do the Tour de France. But realistically, right now, he is, at best, the 3rd favourite.
Yeah.
At best, for the Tour. Pogačar, Vingegaard are clear.
And if you look at the Giro parcours, then you look at a parcours that is one where I'm like, Remco, this is a parcours where you can do really well. The time trials are there. The mountain stages are not explosive.
They're nerfed.
4 mountain stages. They're B-Tech mountain stages because the Giro is now scared of having a high mountain in their races.
Yep.
Which is understandable somehow. But that does, to me, shout GC Remco at the Giro. But then the question is, I'm going to throw this back to you, send him for GC or stages to the Tour. And I kind of feel like GC try, backup stages.
Yeah, I think you go with GC there's always going to be pressure. That's the nature of things. But you go to the Tour, after the Giro, and if you've done well at the Giro, then there's less pressure because you just did well at the Giro. Yep. If you had a problem at the Giro, well, now you can sort of resurrect your season. And also just to get a feel for the race, and he's still young, but it is time to do the Tour de France and get amongst it and see how far he can go. That's what Pidcock's been doing. Now, I think Pidcock should have been doing some other World Tour stage races, but Pidcock did it in 2022, did it in 2023. 22, he won the stage. 23, he stayed really close in GC for quite a while, for 2 weeks. That's still a part of his development. So yeah, Remco has to do the Tour, but especially if it looks like Pogačar's, the murmurings have been he's not doing the Giro, especially if Pogacar doesn't do the Giro, I think Remco doing it's a no-brainer. Because then you just, smash the TTs, and then you got to beat G, I think.
Yep.
And defend against... Yeah. So it's... And then Landa at the Vuelta, he's obviously Spanish, suits him. And then you have Landa and Remco at the Tour. You go in both as try and defend your GC positions. Okay, if one guy falls out completely, then he has to help the other. If they're really up there in GC, or they go for stages.
How does Ilan van Wilder feel about Landa joining and taking away the other Grand Tours? If he had to join himself?
Well, because Van Wilder said he didn't want to be a dom for Remco all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The thing is, I don't see what's like. I expect Van Wilder to maybe have leadership in a 1 week race every now and then. Like, I don't know, just scamping it out there to the Swiss or something. But I also feel like 1 day races is something I'm looking forward to when it comes to Van Wilder after Trevale Varesine. I don't see him at the level where he can announce, I want co-leadership at a Grand Tour at all yet. So it's kind of like, what do you see him then? Because then a Giro Tour as well?
No, not for Van Wilder.
That's too much, eh?
No. I would probably get him to... if I was Remco, I would skip the Ardennes, altitude for Giro, and I would send Van Wilder and Alaphilippe to the Ardennes. He's won Liège twice, so, it'd be nice to defend it, but
I expect Remco to be at LBL. Remco will ride LBL as... He won it twice in a row, he's going to want to be there. I think as a defending your throne kind of way.
Okay, but how about winning the Giro?
I think that's a very good idea, personally. But I think he's going to want to ride LBL anyway.
You know who was Quickstep's third highest point scorer? Van Wilder. Oh, God.
Van Wilder, probably, because...
Yeah.
Otherwise, he probably wouldn't ask.
But yeah, I think... If he goes to the Tour, Van Wilder, with Landa and Remco there, well, then it's clear. I'm sorry, you're a domestique. If you want to go to the Tour, you're a pure domestique. You can go for the experience, whatever, but domestique. Vuelta, it's a bit... Vuelta, whatever. Go with... Like, Landa doesn't also deserve someone, and he didn't have it in Bahrain either. Bahrain used to go into Grand Tours with Jack, Landa,
Buitrago,
Gino, Buitrago, Caruso, Bilbao, and legit, it'd be like, all right, boys...
Wait. And Arashiro doing lead-outs for everyone.
Arashiro actually really good. He extended.
Yeah.
Anyway, also his bike looks sick, the National Champ Merida. Anyway, bizarrely it worked at Bahrain because the team was so transparent about it and also never really asked a rider to sacrifice their own position for another rider. The rider sort of would just do it themselves if they want. Like if Jack or Caruso, like look at Caruso in the Vuelta, he was nowhere in GC, he's like, I'll pull for you guys, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think you just tell Landa, sorry, Van Wilder's coming, you guys just go for your own GC. I don't think that'd be a problem. Do you think Remco, though, what do you expect from him at the Tour de France? He's going. He just went, he did a Strava... Oh, no, he didn't do a Strava ride. He did a ride that he put on Strava with Le Grand Boucle in Italy, doing the reconnaissance of the opening Grand Depart. Yeah. What do you expect from him if he does the Tour?
I find it hard to see him beat the big boys. I think that's a pretty obvious statement, a pretty no shit Sherlock statement. I just feel like he hasn't proven it to me that he can beat the top guns there. Like, I'm thinking he can get 5th or 4th in GC if he focus all out on the Tour de France. But he's also not the most, what do you call this, non-crash prone rider. He is pretty what is crash prone? Is that bad against crash or good against crash?
Crash prone means you're, Roglic or
okay.
Or
he's
Remco.
Pretty crash prone. Which I find dangerous to predict someone going for GC every single time then. Like, I don't expect the highest 2 steps. I don't expect the Tour de France podium. I think he can win the Giro.
You don't expect Tour de France podium?
No.
And you also seem to think, unlike what you think that he'll do Liège, then altitude, a good prep for the Tour, and you don't think Tour de France podium?
I don't think Tour de France podium.
He seems to get, I think, stressed before the big stages.
I don't know
so
that.
Like the gravel stage, that's a lot of stress for everybody.
Yeah.
And you look at Jumbo in the cobble stage in 2022, they were like clinical, right? Clinical in all this 4 stages before. Like Van Aert just taking, riding away from everybody, doing everything right. And then all of a sudden that stage, and it wasn't just the musical chairs bikes.
That was amazing.
From neutral, something was off.
Yeah.
The whole day. And so how do they manage that stress? And then you got the mountains afterwards. But we saw in the Giro 2021 that, the gravel stage with him and Almeida was a bit of a disaster. That could have been a feeding. And you already said in his interview with us that he didn't do the right prep for that race and he should have never been there. We all know that. But
I feel like for me to believe in a Tour de France podium, Remco needs to be competitive against Vingegaard or Pogacar or Roglic to be able to beat them in a 1-week race leading up to that.
I think he can do that, though.
Well, Roglic, I agree. But Pogacar and Vingegaard, I don't see unless they're
he can beat them in Paris-Nice.
Well, Jonas at Paris-Nice is like that guy we saw in the restaurant in Antwerp.
Yeah, because his TT is killer. But I agree. I think he should do Paris-Nice or Tirreno. Probably some guys will do Tirreno because of the recons, and then he should do traditional prep. If he's not going to do the Giro, like I said, then he should, make his Tour de France prep as good as possible. But I think that the podium is possible. I really do. Like, first of all, there could be a problem with one or both of the big guys, too. Then, okay, Adam Yates, he's pretty lethal, but UAE might even send him to win the Giro. And then, but it's untested. And you're right, Benji, you want to see it in 1-week races. But so you, nailing it down, you're in charge. Oh, yeah?
I want to say I would love a fight between Adam Yates and Remco at the Giro. One guy that is, Adam Yates is, in my opinion, on certain mountains, a better climber, while the time trial of Remco will hit Adam Yates. Because, I find, Adam Yates at UAE Tour is very different, of course. Because we always know Adam Yates is going to win on Jebel Hafid when he arrives there.
Adam Yates was better in the UAE Tour. He lost time in the crosswinds.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's also part of racing.
Is it weird to say that I trust Adam Yates more for GC in the Giro than Remco? As in, outside of the time trials?
I don't think it's weird at all, because I think Adam Yates is the fourth best GC contender in the world.
Yeah.
So he came third in the Tour as a domestique. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's that weird a statement. I think he can also fall through the ice too. But I think it'd be a really intriguing battle. But I think, Giro Tour makes the most sense to me, particularly with Landa coming in and then Landa is...
Hey. We've had a pirate ship next to the coast. A pirate ship including Tim Merlier, the new pirate.
Yeah, he's throwing his hat in the ring.
Yeah, he stated that he wants to have a conversation with Lefebvre to ride the Tour de France. Boom.
And he's 100% right.
I agree.
He is 100% right. First of all, we already said, we had this conversation this year. It takes pressure off Remco if there's a guy who can also get wins in the team.
Yeah.
Secondly, most importantly, in break formation, flat break, I haven't looked at, well, I have looked, but I can't remember exactly how many of the medium mountain stages, breakaway stages, or high mountain stages start with a flat start. Sprinters are really, really good at managing break formation on flat starts, because you know what it requires? A lot of bursts, racecraft, reading the race, making quick split-second decisions. I think sprinters are really, really good at that. Laporte is particularly good at it. So
Olaf Koy to Tour de France next year.
Well, no. I mean, I don't know about that.
No, but I agree, and it's also Jakobsen's leaving. Is this the first time where we have Quickstep where there's only like one all-out sprinter out there? Because there's always been 2 top sprinters in the team, eh? I feel
2
like
top guys and then a Neo Pro.
Yeah. Now it feels like it's 1 top guy and Neo Pros. Like
so
that's
then there's the
something.
argument: why not send him to the Giro? If Remco's not going to do the Giro, which I think he probably won't, and you're sending Van Wilder to the Giro or whatever, then don't you you say, hey Tim, the Giro's right there for you, and it's got plenty of sprint stages too.
It's an option.
My argument is that I think Merlier makes their tour team better. If he's motivated, in good shape, get the weight down a little bit, climb, I think he can be really useful on the gravel stage. Really useful. And he might he said himself he wants to do that. He said, me and Bert can be... Van Leeuwenberger, he was hyping up too much. I was like, let's settle down a bit. He's about Van Leeuwenberger like he was Van Hooydonk Regen. But I think... And Asgreen, I'm not sure how much he wants to do that.
I don't know. I feel like Asgreen will be willing to do that. I've been very tunnel vision on the Giro Tour double, but let's say for a scenario now that Remco does the Tour and not the Giro, then I would understand why they sent Merlier to the Giro. That would seem
I think
like
that's a reasonable compromise.
I agree, but I don't know if I find the Tour de France GC much more riskier than the Giro one for Remco. But it's kind of a discussion we've had in the past, eh?
You don't want to put all your chip, it's good to have a backup plan. It's okay, say something happens with GC, maybe even if luck outside your control, it's really nice at least to then say to the sponsors, hey, we still won 2 stages though. It's more than most teams. We won 2 stages.
Is Remco certain enough to podium that he deserves a full team behind him at the Tour de France? As in, obviously he's not Gaudu, but he's also not the obvious 3rd at the Tour de France yet for me.
It's really tricky in the how do you manage the sprint run-ins with Merlier? That's the problem with sprinters. It's really tricky.
Remco lead out?
No. Yeah, because then if Merlier's like, oh, I also want 2 guys I want Asgreen and guys to set me up after 3Ks to go. So, no, we need them pulling Remco to 3Ks to go. So that's where it gets really, really tricky. Where he's like, of course, most sprinters are happy to work for the GC guy on stages which don't suit them at all, where they're going to get dropped halfway through or a breakaway is going to win. But then when you say to them, yeah, but also on the sprint stages, you have 0 lead out, then they're like, oh, what the fuck? It's like, well,
I see that.
You're not the primary focus here. So it's tricky.
Yeah, and
I think Giro.
Giro feels likely indeed.
If Remco doesn't do it. If Remco does the Giro, then Merlier to the Tour with good preparation.
Yeah. I would tend to agree there. It's a very stacked program for Remco to do. Ardennes Giro Tour.
Well, I carved out the Ardennes.
Yeah.
After Tour of Flanders, he goes to Altitude to do the Giro in my program.
Doing Tour of Flanders, you confirmed it? It's happening?
I just said why not? He's won Liège.
Yeah.
Winning Tour of Flanders would be bigger than winning Liège the 3rd time.
I agree. I would like to see him go to RVV, but I think they were doubting between RVV and MSR or something, is what I read at some point. I don't see him MSRing. Sorry, I don't see it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I think Tour of Flanders, he could be really, really good. Really, I think that race suits him really well.
It's also earlier than LBL, which would also leave more space to do stuff like you mentioned. So I get that. I just feel like he might want to do LBL just for the sakes of defending. But hey, guess we'll find out who else will write the classics outside of... Well, Asgreen will. That's for sure.
Lampard. Alaphilippe said big goal. He wants to be back in form and his 2020 Tour of Flanders form. So those 3. And they're all out of,
Moscon?
no, except for Lampard, they're out of contract. Moscon, yeah, I mean, so yeah. And then I think they're the main guys, aren't they? Lampard, Alaphilippe, Asgreen. And Remco is the joker in like Broe de Panne and the flat ones.
Merlier, Casper Pedersen, those riders could be there. Czerny for break formation could be in that race. Van Ledberger for break formation in certain races like Eduardo Vlaanderen and so forth. Here's where they will send Lamperti when it comes to like the 1.1 classics. I feel like he might be valuable too, you know? I don't think he's just a pure sprinter, right? He can also do some 1.1 Belgian ChatGPT generated races. Was that what you said last time?
Well, no. Someone in the Lanterne Rouge Discord, I can't remember exactly who, just did ChatGPT, however you say it, generated Belgian semi-classics, and the list legit looks like the list of your races, like textile price. It's just like light industrial, medium scale enterprises in the Flanders region. They'll have a race.
That's genius.
So yeah, we haven't really spoken about Alaphilippe. He'll be on a lot of money. He's out of contract. Is there anything he can do to salvage him staying with this team, Benji, or is he off to a French team regardless? And what do you expect from him next year? Do you think him being up there with Pogačar and Van der Poel and Van Aert in Tour of Flanders is realistic? I don't see it right now, yeah.
I don't see it either. I feel like he's that... Right now, I feel like he's that rider you used to try and bait other teams out earlier on in the race. He's kind of like your red herring in the race, is how I see it tactics-wise. Put him in groups ahead, try and force the others to chase him down, because I don't expect him to be there when it matters in the end, is how I see it. And that's how I see Alaphilippe at the moment.
So he's off to Total, is he?
Well, I kind of feel like it. Like, it's sad, but that's how I see it. I hope he fights back, but
I really would like to see him back up there, sticking it to everybody in Flanders. I really hope he gets back in that shape. So, yeah. Okay, time for hot takes, Benji. Before we do their over-unders, what's your hot take from this team?
My hot take from this team, Jesus, I always should prepare these, but I always forget about preparing the hot takes. It's like the one part of the podcast that I should find my own thoughts out, and nah. Not happening. My hot take is... I don't fucking know. Mikel Landa. This is going to be horrible because... Mikel Landa gets a higher GC result at the Tour de France than Remco Evenepoel.
Not a hot take. Oh, it is. No, in Flanders, that's a hot take. Because in Flanders, everyone's like, he's a climbing domestique. So I grant it. Yeah, I think Landa wins a Grand Tour next year. No,
what
no wins.
Fuck? Sorry, but what?
I was trying to think which one then, but they'll probably send him to the Giro, even though the parkour doesn't suit him. I think he can podium the Giro, no problem. Landa can podium the Giro, easy. I think Merlier is the best sprinter in the world next year. Is actually one I believe in.
I also had a Merlier take racking up, and I would say that he's going to win.
Who's the leader, by the way? Casper Pedersen? I would use that Wara guy. He's fucking huge, and he's got like decent 30-second absolute power. I would use that Wara kid.
Can at least try him out in some races early on, like Alula Tour, for example. But how many World Tour races can Merlier win? Is it a hot take when I say he's gonna win
10?
I was gonna say that, but I think that's just too much.
It's a hot take for a reason.
I'm gonna say 10 because I believe that Tim Merlier is going to win Gent-Wevelgem.
Oh, okay. He was pretty good actually there this year, wasn't it? Gent-Wevelgem was where they did the Jacobsen-Chaspatat when they sent both of them. That's a special race from them. That was probably the worst moment of their classic season, I think, where it was just like, what a quick step doing this year.
Yeah.
I think both of us are quite high on Merlier.
Wait, Johnny Moscon podiums Roubaix.
No, he's not going to do that.
Johnny Moscon podiums are back. It's happening. It's happening.
Johnny Moscon involved in another racial incident.
That's more likely. It's not a hot take. Sorry.
No.
Jesus
Is
Christ.
Remco... Can Remco be the highest point scorer in 2024?
No.
It's hard to beat Poggy, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jan Hirt's on this team. Completely forgot about him.
Yeah, Jan Hirt's salary.
Beautiful man. I'm hyped for him, man.
He's sixth in the Giro and he won a stage, I think, and then yeah, Quick-Step signed him. But I'm trying to think of a negative hot take.
Oh, well, I guess my Remco one was kind of negative, even though I don't want to be too negative.
I don't want to be too. I'm trying to be positive. I'm New Year's resolution. I'm being going to be positive Patrick on the Lanterne Rouge Cycling podcast.
Positive
okay,
Patrick.
over World Tour wins. They had 25 or something this year. 23 this year. How many next year?
I'm gonna go with 20. And the reason I'm going down is because I believe they'll send Remco to the Tour de France after doing maybe UAE Tour Paris Dauphiné kind of run-in with LBL. Because I'm telling you, he's going to LBL. I can feel it in my head.
Oh, I got a hot take. Remco wins World Championships, TT, road race, and the Olympic road race.
I agree with the Olympics. Worlds, it's Pogacar versus him.
Yeah.
And Mauro Schmidt, because my hot take still is from Jacob.
Yeah. You have Schmidt winning. Remco wins all three, dude.
All four? Is there there's an Olympic time trial?
Oh yeah, wins all four.
Your take's not hot enough. Come on.
Okay, yeah, he wins all four. I think they win 18. I'm going under a little bit. I think Merlier will win a lot. I think Remco will win. Olympics and World Champs don't count for that, but I think Remco will win 5 or 6 really high quality World Tour races.
I get that.
But I don't think there'll be the same volume.
Yeah, because no two Grand Tours
this year
is what I expect them to do. And that's why I also go lower in 20. But I feel like I expect, then again, Czerny and Vernon getting Roman these days, I think it's going to be less than 20.
But Vernon's gone. Schmidt, Baggioli's gone.
Fuck it. I'm going to go 17. I changed.
Oh, you went under. I went 18. You went 17. Okay, I think I am very interested to see how this team is next year. Because like a team like UAE, it's going to be the same again next year. Jumbo, Roglic is out, but try and win the Tour of Vingegaard. I don't know what Quick-Step's schedule really looks like. We've said many iterations of what it could be. They had a tumultuous off-season. I'm really interested to see how this team shapes up and lines up in February. And what their classic squad looks like.
That will be a very good race.
Algarve's start list looks ridiculous. It looks ridiculous. So
we're covering it in some shape or form, or is that a spoiler?
I mean, if it's got like too many big guns, I think my hand will be forced, and we'll have to cover it. But it depends. I don't know. Yes, November. We'll see their schedules first. But yeah, I'm really, really interested to see how Quick-Step shapes up. And I think it's a team to watch, and it's a team I want to see keep going and keep being strong and up there and keep performing. And it's don't want them to be I just want them to get sponsors and be successful.
Yes. See.
Okay. Oh, I do have another hot take.
Oh God.
4A takes over next year. Bacala sees 4A, thinks pretty sharp. In.
I don't necessarily like. I regardless of the 4A
that's not a hot
thing,
take. That's just a prediction of what something could happen.
I already felt like there might still be relationship evolutions in the coming year when it comes to Bacala. So it might go up. Maybe it completely collapses in 2024, which I hope not. But cycling's so fragile that I'm scared.
Yeah. Okay. That's all from us. We'll be seeing you next with a DSM preview. And I think we're doing Movistar as well. So we're racking through them. Hope you've enjoyed them.
DSM PostNL.
DSM PostNL.
Forgot
That's
Firmenich.
Luke's favorite
difficult.
company. All right. Thanks very much for listening, as always, everybody. And we'll see you with that DSM Post-Danel preview in the next one. Till then, ciao.